I named it and went live and immediately thought of a better name.
So you can title the YouTube video.
I guess the YouTube video titles are normally better anyway because I'm titling it after the fact. So yeah. Um, to go over, I'll just read through the session summary that my dearest wife threw up because best. Um, um, Starting off the session last time real strong, Ren decided to keep secrets from Henry specifically, not telling him about Miss Erin being a shapeshifter. Um, uh, but uses the message cantrip to tell both Call and Zerka while Henry's in the room. Um, if I remember correctly, they both did. Excuse me. Really good jobs at not giving a tell that they just heard um, that there were secrets being kept. Um, Brief conversation with Oren about the half-elven artificer in the Half-a-Mug and the device that he thinks is a power source of some kind. But he didn't sound super worried about it. Um, uh, Kind of off session, in session, Henry and Call have their little conversation about Call kind of freaking out in the last combat about how low they got, and then Henry not being able to heal them immediately or not healing them immediately, um, and how that went. Um, Zerka called the party as well as Dirk into her office to discuss the members of the Light Hands that are being followed. Dirk said that he was on the trail of the man that escaped, um, and that he should, catch them soon. He expected to catch them soon, and then he was dismissed. At which time Zerka said, "Yo, I didn't realize how bad things were." She didn't use those exact words, um, and said that there was a way to pull some power away from Ander and give it to his council. Like there is precedence to do so. Um, she mentioned that the kind of the inciting factor for her with that was that she didn't realize that people were being smuggled out of the city, which is kind of a measure of how bad things are. Um, and then she also mentioned to do favors and get leverage on the council members. Um, uh, she also mentioned that the Lord's Commander are going to be leaving with or maybe not specifically the Lord's Commander, but large portions of the three corps are going to be leaving um, Storgard to hunt down the Draconians and Kobolds in the foothills around Mount Scylla. And that might be a good time to make a play, because if you can get Captain Ryan of the City Guard on your side, then he suddenly has the largest army in the city. Um, she brought up three other members of the council that don't have, you know, soldiers at their command, but are still important people. Um, uh, our group went back to Ren's room, um, and had some very emotional conversations that led to a little bit of shouting. Um, but in the end, came to the plan that they would meet again the following morning to talk about their plan for talking to the Lord's Commander and Captain Ryan. Um, After that, Henry leaves, little bit emotionally charged, um, to do something. And then Ren gave Call some uh, studded leather armor, which gave a little AC bump. Um, so we are actually going to pick up right there with Ren and Call in Ren's room, unless y'all are splitting ways immediately.
I don't think we will split ways immediately. So, honestly, at this point, Call is kind of like grabbing Ren's hands and is like, seriously, thank you. Like, it means a lot that you noticed. It means a lot that you've helped. Thank you.
Ren doesn't really know how to react to that, but he does after a second and smiles and kind of squeezes back, and I'm glad you like it.
Thanks. You okay?
I lied to Henry today.
What'd you do?
When we were telling you that nothing happened on our excursion to Half a Mug, and then something did happen, and I did not tell Henry.
Oh.
So the report that we gave you, brief as it was incorrect, and I let you know, briefly, without much elaboration.
You did.
I did not tell Henry. And I also did not tell Zerka, and I alerted her that I needed to tell her something in the same fashion that I did to you.
So Zerka knows that the report was incomplete?
Yes. And in light of the conversation that we just had, the three of us, which I feel good about, I feel even worse than I already did about lying to Henry. And I think we should discuss that with him.
He does deserve to know.
It is sensitive information about the Light Hands, and Henry seems predisposed in their favor, which is why I was cautious with revealing that to him.
It makes sense.
I don't want him to get himself in trouble. If he tries to act on his own with this information, it could end very badly for everyone, including him in the immediate vicinity. So I wanted to be cautious. But I would like to talk to Henry again soon.
You know, I don't blame you. Before the conversation today, I also wouldn't have been able to predict whether Henry was going to make the careful decision or jump headfirst into something that we know nothing about. So I think caution was the move. I just
I'm
hope
also...
Mhm.
Sorry?
I just hope that Henry understands that.
I'm also very confident that the Light Hands and the patrons of Half a Mug are onto us, and that we should not show our faces there again.
Understood. If we need to talk to them, we'll find other ways.
Yes. You said there was a dwarf woman following you, right?
Yeah, I think I mentioned that in passing. Why?
when Henry and I were walking back out of the industrial district, yeah, when Henry and I were walking back, I saw the woman from the rooftop of the execution.
You
Running
saw.
away.
She's the one you saw.
Yes, I saw her down an alley. I told Henry that I would meet him back at the courtyard. I snuck into the alley, turned invisible, and followed her. Managed somehow to keep up with her, and then watched 2 different reports go on. She waited there, and the young tiefling girl came to her and reported.
What time of
with
day
her-
was this?
This was earlier in the morning, right?
This was just a little bit
It was
after
lunchtime.
lunchtime.
Yeah, it was before Call spoke with Kina. Right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Okay, so Ren relays that. And after the tiefling girl left, it seems like the rings they have are an alarm for her. She referred to her as Miss Erin, which we had already thought that Miss Erin was the human woman at the tavern.
Mm-hmm.
And then I witnessed Miss Erin change shape and become the dwarf woman you've been describing. And another dwarven girl came up to her and reported something else.
Well,
Basically
that's
just like-
something.
And the reports were basically just like, we saw these kind of, street movements, the elf was there and stuff like that. Right?
Mm.
Then, yeah. So, yeah, Ren gives those details.
Okay.
So I don't know how many faces Miss Erin has.
Well,
But it
that's
seems
sure
that-
something.
It is, and it seems that she has been one of the ones following you. And that makes me especially uneasy because on the day of the execution, thank you, Ben. He just said Miss Erin is all of the NPCs. I believe it.
Thank you, Ben.
New theory. She's just been cloning herself a whole lot. But that makes me especially uneasy because on the day of the execution, you were the one out of the 3 of us in the most conspicuous position. So you had her attention, and it seems you still have her attention.
That's always fun.
Oh, it's not.
Well,
I know that you and I are at a point where telling each other to be careful has become more of a joke than anything else.
unfortunate but fair.
Yeah. But please remember that you can call me for backup at any time. Okay?
I promise.
Okay.
I do remember, and I promise, if the situation calls for it, I will reach out to you.
Okay.
Besides, and they're gonna like pull out their Rocky Talkie. I have a way to do it.
Exactly.
I am curious why she's trailing me, though. I wonder if it's just because I'm the one who followed the tiefling girl back to her.
It's possible.
It's possible that's the reason. It's possible that the reason might be completely unrelated to the execution in its entirety. I might just be, the obvious face that's poking around. It's worth looking into. But
The tiefling girl did report to Miss Erin about, I'm assuming, you.
Do you know she reported about me?
What exactly did she say?
It
I
was
think it was about like
mostly
guard movements.
yeah, it was mostly guard movements.
He
The
had
tiefling
mentioned Call at some point.
not the tiefling girl. The dwarf mentioned call.
Really? Okay.
Yep.
Yes, because
Okay,
at the
amending that.
timeline wise, the tiefling had not seen call yet. Like they hadn't met and talked yet.
Okay,
We
I was
made
wondering if
that
it was
wibbly
one of
wobbly.
the incidents before, but yeah, okay. So yeah, Ren's gonna amend that and say it was the dwarf girl. But yeah, so they have been keeping tabs on you.
Fun! Okay. Well, I will bear that in mind. I don't really know what I can do with that information, but it'll be good to keep an eye out. I don't really know what they expect to learn from me. It's not like they don't know where I'm from or any of that. But well, I have something new to figure out. You can tell that Call is at this point trying to like keep a brave face on about it, and it's just like this. I am completely unbothered by this turn of events. And then Call's gonna say, I do kind of want to bother you for more information. Is this... Do you plan on telling Henry this? You said you wanted to relay more details tomorrow.
I would like to tell Henry this. I have a sizable apology to make to him, especially after this conversation that we all just had. But first, I want to make sure that he's in a state of mind where he can handle it and not act on his own with it. I know he has been very proactive on his own, and I admire that, but I just don't want him to get in over his head alone with this if he decides to try and contact the Light Hands.
Fair.
So I would like to take that into account. But yes, I would like to tell Henry, and I do need to report to Captain Dawn about this.
All right. Well, I will, I guess, save my questions for then. Good luck. All right.
You too.
I'll talk to you tomorrow.
Okay. Good night.
All right.
And yeah, with that,
Continue.
Call's gonna run their errand that I messaged you about like a week or two ago and head back
Yeah.
to the barracks.
I'm going to double check on that just real quick.
Okay.
Okay. Henry goes and has his little off-screen conversation that has been had. And Henry does go back to the Hall of Light that night, right?
You mean you didn't read my little story that I wrote about it? Yes, he goes back to the Hall of Light. I wrote a little bit about the session because I had to process feelings. Nothing that's like super interesting.
did you-
But
Send it to me?
oh, maybe I didn't share it with you. My bad.
My passive perception is DM.
You have the login to my Google Docs though.
I
so
do,
like
but
whatever.
I don't check
Oh.
it before every session.
Yes, he goes back to the Hall of Light immediately after and forgets to do sending for the first time since he's gotten it and goes to sleep.
And there was a chorus of gasps. Okay. With that, I'm gonna say y'all did plan to meet up What? Oh. Y'all did plan to meet up. What time did y'all want to meet up? And is anybody going to try and do something before that?
When Call is getting up at their obnoxiously early hour, I think they're going to try and see if anyone from the Corps of Blades wants to have a sparring session.
All right. Early sparring match. What are you looking for?
Call is going to be looking for people who are specializing in close range combat, with a variety of weapons.
Okay. All right. You find a couple of members just using close quarters weapon. Sorry, getting distracted by the side chat. That's my own fault. You find a pair of Corps of Blades members who are doing just that, and they very quickly allow you to join in and do like a little three-way spar. It's, it goes. Honestly, if we're gonna keep true to level and shit, you probably do rather well against them, and after a bit it might become a 2-on-1. But yeah, that happens. All right. Ooh. Okay. So after that, the three of you re-meet in the tower at Ren's room.
Okay. Well,
Night of Sleep was not enough to prepare me for this.
I have decided that Ren has made tea for everybody.
I'm gonna need a how is Henry looking?
Well, he didn't have any dwarven ale, so he was not barely buzzed. The slightest tinges of buzzed. He goes to sleep pretty late, but also anxiety, and so he wakes up early enough to like get ready. And if you'll allow me to, I would like for him to go get pastries for everyone before meeting up.
Yeah.
If you don't think that's realistic.
I mean, give me a Constitution saving throw DC 7. Because you made a point of saying that you didn't drink heavily, and also the anxiety bit, that makes sense. So
7 on the die. So.
And I know you have something to your Constitution saving throw, so
+1, so 8.
Okay. Either way, you are able to get pastries.
Okay. So, I think Henry knocks at Ren's door around 8:15, probably. And as soon as Ren opens the door, he goes, "I brought pastries."
Ren looks touched, and I like making composure rolls for Ren. His one with Call earlier was a 20. Guess what this one was? So yeah, Ren looks nervous as fuck and kind of guilty. But he says thank you, and comes in. My brain is conjuring like a sitting area of some kind, like a little table, other than a desk. Yeah.
Certainly. I mean, your room is not small.
Okay, because like I'm imagining like really plush desk chair and like 4-post bed with curtains and all that shit because you said it was nice. So I'm like, okay, this is nice. Theater of the mind. Anyway, so yeah, he'll take that over there and he's got tea. So yeah, he'll make Henry a cup of tea. As like a preliminary peace offering for whatever the fuck is about to happen. So
I'm gonna say that for free because Henry is a very easy read. For this, when he sees the tea, he like looks very touched and not just, oh, you made me something, but like it seems very special. Like tea is very special to him, so he's very like feels good about it. And sits down and pours you a glass if you hadn't already poured one. I've just like in the teapot, but yeah, sits down.
So if Call doesn't get there first, I think Ren is just gonna make small talk. Because he's great at that.
You know it's his specialty.
Yeah. Just keeping it light, trying to keep it cheerful for Henry, because Henry had kind of a rough evening. So yeah, he'll just ask Henry how he was and how his evening was.
Henry says, it was good. It was nice. I went out for a little bit, and so that was calming. And Henry just keeps making small talk, and I think you notice that he's being like extra gentle with you today. Like pretty normal, but a little bit extra gentle.
We're all still kind of tender after yesterday's talk.
Yeah, he doesn't seem like upset or sad in any way. Very different vibes from last night.
Okay. Because Ren is trying to exude like just support right now. Like just I want to know how you're doing. Because it's completely genuine. He just also seems kind of like nervous and extra concerned. So but yeah, they're doing good.
Yeah,
it's not awkward at all.
No. They're both like, "Oh, how are you today? Oh, how are you?" It's being very sweet with each other, I think.
I'm really wanting Call to just like walk in without knocking and immediately be blunt.
I was really thinking that Call's gonna walk in and be like, "Sup, nerds?"
Yeah,
in the fucking morning. I mean, Call's coming off of the the good exercise kind of adrenaline, so Call's gonna walk in and be like, "I am thirsty. Where is Pierre?"
Are you gonna drink the weasel or
no? I am gonna hug the weasel while I get something to drink. Hang on. Paul does not do that. Disappointing, but fair. No, Call comes in more like a normal person, and does it like honestly just still look for Pierre though.
Come on, Jenny, run the scene.
I physically cannot eat with my mouth open. I never open my mouth when I eat. Like, not even to take a bite.
It just like it's like glitches through your lips.
Yes.
Yeah, it just flips.
Just flips.
As someone who lives with them, yes, that's exactly how it happens.
Yeah. I think Pierre had probably been like trying to play with Henry, like play with his hands or something like that. Like Pierre had been all on Henry, and then Call walks in and Pierre's like, oh, it's Call's turn. So yes. Yeah, Pierre is just here to support everybody. And yeah, Ren's gonna get Call a cup of tea, and we're all gonna have a nice breakfast.
Paul's probably gonna eat a fairly ridiculous amount of the food without realizing it, and once they realize how much they've eaten, they're just gonna like pull back, be like, "Oh shit, sorry," because they are hungry this morning. And once everyone's eaten, I think Call's gonna be like, "All right, is it time to discuss the elephant in the room?"
Yeah, I think that would be good.
What's Praetor Paramount Tara have to do with anything?
Shut up.
Not much, actually.
She's in the room?
Henry starts looking
Perception
around.
check.
Oh my god. No, what's her class? Abjuration?
Mm-hmm. Abjuration.
Yeah. Yeah. But I don't think she has as much to do with that right now. But, yeah. Okay. So, I know we're going to be focusing on Captain Don's new task for us. But first, I wanted to check in. How are we feeling about the light hands? Like, because we're not really dropping that. I know we're shifting focus, but how are we feeling about that? And he's kind of looking at Henry, like, kind of prompting him to talk first.
Henry looks immediately thoughtful, and he's like, I've been so conflicted. I don't even know. I've been wanting to talk to y'all about it when it kind of came up. So, thank you for broaching it. Our assignment is to capture the woman from the rooftop. But, you know, I'm thoroughly convinced that she's a part of the Light Hands, and if it doesn't sit right with me to rat out an organization that is doing so much good and was honorable enough to try to save someone who was causing issues for them. So, like, I don't like it. But at the same time, they are a criminal organization. It is our duty to do it, to apprehend the one person. So, if I had to decide right now, I would say I think taking one person from the organization wouldn't break them, probably. So I think we should try to apprehend her, but I think we should try to minimize the damage to the Light Hands as much as we can, because as far as we know, they seem like good people.
I have a question. Where are you getting your information from? Because I haven't done any... I haven't heard any word of mouth about them as an organization, like, good or bad.
So, on one of my joy spreading missions 2 days ago, however many days ago, I specifically was in the Rent District, and I wanted to kind of get a feel for it. So I just talked to a bunch of random folks and asked my normal questions, and several of them just brought up the Light Hands. There were a few that were scared of them in the way that I think Petal would be scared of them. But the more normal folk said explicitly that the Light Hands are good people and helpful, and the way that Ren conveyed how Miss Erin, I think her name was with the person who was requesting services, how gentle she was and wasn't demanding payment immediately. Like, it's all of those small things we know add up to them being good. And so that's not definitive, but it's my gut feeling about it.
I'm really proud of you for taking initiative on that kind of research. I think that if we are trying to work for the city, we should know how the city feels, so I appreciate that you took that initiative. I also want to point out our first interaction with the Light Hands. They opened up by killing how many guards and injuring how many others?
Yeah,
to save
that's
one
true.
person. And I understand. That sounds like a very utilitarian way of me to put it. People have people that they would kill for, and in that case, Vis was one of them. But how many guards did we speak to, and how many guards did we not have the opportunity to speak to after that attack? Also, they have been following Call, and that concerns me greatly. So I don't feel very... Like, that was public knowledge, right? We knew that Call was being followed? Both of us? All of us?
I believe that Call mentioned that. they
Yeah,
were
Call had
following.
been... Yeah,
Okay.
because Henry looked really surprised, and I'm like, no, we knew this. We discussed
Sorry,
this.
I didn't remember that Henry was told, but I think it would make sense if Call told Henry. So yeah.
Yeah. No, I thought that, yeah, Call had told the other two about that
Yeah.
factor.
That would
So,
make
yeah.
sense. So
So, that doesn't seem very friendly to me. So, largely, I'm inclined to see them as a threat. I appreciate their goals and what they're doing for the Rent District. I feel that somebody needs to speak up for people who don't have the ability to speak up for themselves. But I'm not sure that I agree with every way that they're doing it. Also, their recklessness in the tools that they were using in the attack on Petal's office. First off, the fact that they only intended to scare him, maybe, with a couple of the undead, does not seem like a very safe, survivable way to scare somebody. Also, they did not calculate properly because it was much more effective than they intended. They imposed a danger on the community. I don't trust their methods or their decisions. I would want to be very cautious with them. I want to continue to be very cautious with them. Also, they absolutely know what we look like.
That much seems true for sure.
Yes. So, those are my feelings on the Light Hands. I'm certain that there's more to the entire puzzle than this. I don't ever presume that I know everything on a topic, so there's information that I'm doubtlessly missing. But with what we have to work with, I do not trust them. That said, Henry, I owe you specifically a major apology. I was not entirely truthful with you yesterday. Something did happen when we were walking home after Half a Mug, and I was anxious about telling you because I didn't know what you were going to do. I know that you were speaking favorably of the Light Hands to Captain Dawn, and you've been very proactive, which is a good thing. I really admire that about you, and taking initiative and doing the legwork and doing the research. But I didn't want you to take this information and go off on your own with it. I didn't want you to get hurt, and I didn't want other people to get hurt. So I would like to tell you what happened. But first and foremost, I am very sorry that I wasn't forthcoming with you to begin with.
you want to make an insight check on Henry?
Insight check on Henry?
Yeah. If you want.
That's a 12.
I also got a 12 on deception.
Uh, So
I have a +3.
it's
A what?
that's like, so technically your deception is setting the DC for Ren, and so meets it, beats it.
Meets it, beats it.
Ren gets it.
Okay. Henry, where all morning so far he's been very like open and like, yeah, we're all friends, and like he becomes like much more like closed off. You can't read him as well immediately. And then as you're talking and you say you have an apology, he looks like really surprised. And then is just like kind of thoughtful as you're talking about like thoughtful and a little disappointed when you're talking about the light hands and stuff.
Not telling him stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah. Ren is gonna go ahead and tell Henry everything that he had told Call. Exactly where he went when he had turned invisible, who he saw, the names that were used. So yeah, the full thing, full report.
Henry is shocked, as one would be. Yeah, Henry's shocked and is like, wow. Well, then bringing in the woman from the roof would probably be a pretty big blow to their organization, since it seems like she's the leader or a leader. But I mean, after everything you said, Ren, I mean, you're right. They are reckless. So I think we should do everything we can to bring her in. I don't know how we're going to do that, though, if she has different faces all the time.
That's the tricky part.
Well, we know one of them is following me, so there is that.
I think we should be extra careful. Y'all probably already are thinking that, but be extra careful about going to the industrial district.
Where do you most frequently see her, Call?
When I'm leaving the industrial district or the rent district, heading back towards the keep.
There are ways. If you decide to venture out there again, let us know. Both Henry and I can cast invisibility. So we can support you from the sides. I can talk to you silently. And we can try to keep an eye on her while she's keeping an eye on you, while you have support. I don't like using you as bait, but I think we'll be relatively safe in this, especially during the middle of the day when there are people around. What do you think of that?
I think we need to work with our options, and it's as good an idea as any.
We'll consider it. Something better might come up, but it's an option.
That's true.
In the meantime, I don't know how to begin with what Captain Dawn has asked of us most recently.
If it makes you feel any better, neither do I.
Thank you, but it doesn't. Ren says this with no malice at all, but the man is not reassured.
Goddamn.
He's just like, yeah, it doesn't, thanks. But
Henry just barely keeps his face composed and doesn't laugh, but like his face is turning red from trying to keep it
Oh
in.
no, Call 100% starts laughing. Call's like, okay, no, that was fucking hilarious.
I'm getting Ren's dry, shitty sense of humor, guys.
I love it so much. Please continue.
I. How well do you two know your Lord's Commander?
Very poorly.
Talked to him a few times. Talked to him recently, like a week ago, and he was very kind. I feel like I could approach him, but we don't have any sort of like friendship or rapport yet.
I think I have the advantage in this. Since I know my Lord Commander very well, I still do not know how to begin this conversation. What do we feel is safe to give away in a first conversation, like first contact about this? Should we try and stick more with a script for the first interaction, like test the waters, then come back later after we've discussed a little bit of the reactions we've gotten?
Yeah, I've been thinking about it because, as Call mentioned last night, I think the script in my head that I've been practicing is going with my genuine concern about the execution and saying, I've been talking to people and which is kind of true, kind of not, but I've been talking to people and there's been just kind of unrest, or I can't think of a good word, but how do you think this is affecting the people of
Unease,
Storgard?
discontent.
I think unease is a good word. Yeah, thank you. Like unease in the people, and I just kind of wanted to get your thoughts on how you think the execution affected the people, and then leave it at that, and then go hella hard trying to understand like their instant reaction, his instant reaction, and then see if he gives anything away, and then go from there.
I think we should not be too ambitious with first conversations. We'll have the chance to speak with these people again.
I concur. I think this is a day to listen, and we will have another day to act.
Yes. And then there are also the other people on the council. I would like for us to contact at least one of them.
Should we... So, each of us has our own Lord Commander. I think it might be pretty easy, hopefully, to find the other three, since Captain Don mentioned where they hang out. He doesn't say hang out. So we can maybe find them, but we also need to talk about who's going to go to Captain Ryan.
Who do we think has the best chance of... I don't feel like it should be Ren, because Ren didn't speak to Captain Ryan earlier on in the investigation with us. So Ren coming and speaking to him would feel a little more out of place.
I'm also the least martially focused. Both of you are in corps that are more closely related to him.
That's fair. I do think it should be either Henry or myself.
I think... Paul, I think you're very well spoken, and I think that since you did a lot of the talking, I think that gives you a really good chance. But I also healed a lot of his men, so I think that gives me a good chance, and I'm not bad at talking either. So, I don't know. What do y'all think?
Henry, I'm inclined to let you do it. You feel this genuinely, And if he is going to empathize with anyone, empathizing with someone with genuine care who has taken time out of his day to heal his men, is probably as close as we're going to get. I think that I think that's a good opportunity for us. And I think that you would probably be more effective than me.
Henry is big eye tear emoji. just like, and just he squeezes Call's hand and goes, "Thanks." Yeah, I can talk to him today, and I mean, worst case, we figure something else out. But yeah, I can talk to him today. Thank you.
Ren is
Paul
fully
just
supportive
nods.
of
I still don't know how to best approach. That's a conversation for another day. That is not a conversation for the now. Paul's just gonna totally drop that and be like, okay, well, do we want to reconvene here later on when we've got something to report? Gods be willing.
Paul, I noticed that you've been training more often in the courtyard. Do we want to meet in the courtyard, and if we have something to talk about, we can come back up here? But then that way, like, we can still do activities if we're not all together.
I mean, sure.
Okay.
Okay.
I haven't seen the fox around lately.
I haven't either.
You're right. That's interesting. We'll look into that.
Could mean anything, but I don't like that it's currently a mystery.
I concur. I concur.
Too many mysteries, and not enough time to solve them all.
Call doesn't like that. Call
still
wants to
bothered
be
about
able to
the
solve
library.
the mysteries.
Well, maybe after we try to completely reorganize the government of the city, we'll have some time to do some sleuthing.
I am training with possibly the most powerful divination wizard in history, and I still don't know how to learn anything.
Oh, should we try to set intentions to do something? Is there any way to hide? I'm nervous now. I forgot about that.
Yes. Yes.
I absolutely love that none of you, neither player nor character, has any idea how divination magic works.
You know everything. Ren is just like, yeah, Barnabas knows everything. That's just a thing, right?
I love it. It's great.
And he's still trying to hide minor things from Barnabas, and he's like, he probably knows anyway.
I love
Man,
how
I
Ben
watched-
is like, you know nothing about divination magic, and then proceeds to not say anything about
None of you have learned anything about divination magic.
I'm just enjoying this. Sorcerers fuck around, divination wizards find out. That's it.
I'm annoyed that I don't know more about it because I've watched like both seasons of Fantasy High, which is like 48 hours of content, one of the main characters is a divination wizard, and the only thing I can say is she had roles where she could say, "Oh no, you made a different role than what you just did." Like that's the only thing I know about her magic, and I'm annoyed about it. I should know more.
Portent rolls are
I
cool.
would like.
I think talking about Barnabas, Henry reaches over and squeezes Ren's hand, and
Excuse me.
says, "It sounds especially daunting for you, but you have a good heart. Barnabas knows this, and I think it'll be okay."
I still think I have it the easiest out of the three of us, since I have a more confident rapport with him. But thank you. I also want to establish that every time Henry reaches over and grabs Ren's hand and squeezes it, Ren squeezes back. That's just an automatic thing. Just take that for granted.
You guys are disgusting.
Yeah.
You disgust me.
Yeah. So, let's not think about the light hands today. And let's take some time to work on our new project.
Oh, before I forget, so I will talk to both of my people today. I made a new friend last night, and he asked me to show him around the city at lunch. So I will be doing that around lunchtime. But I think I'll still have plenty of time to do all this.
Sounds like you've got an interesting day.
The light hands, I still need to speak to Captain Dawn. I will do that first. Okay.
Busy day, busy day. Good luck, friends.
You got this.
We've got this. Okay.
So we can do that Zerka conversation first if that's where you're headed first.
Yeah.
Alrighty.
Ren gets to exchange words with Captain Zerka. Like full sentences, maybe. Okay, so yeah, he will go to the barracks and find Zerka's door and knock and hope that she is present.
It is like, okay, looking at when we started. Y'all have been talking for at least like 40 minutes. So it's getting close to 9, or actually with the walk, it's a little past 9 a.m. Excuse me. So I'm gonna have you roll a perception check.
Oh, that is a 21.
Okay. All right. You actually see her. Sprinting is the wrong word. Moving quickly, but the agility of Captain Dawn makes it look like there is no effort going into it. Moving very quickly from the main gates into the keep toward her office as you're crossing the courtyard.
Ren kind of just waits for her near her office door. Just not blocking the way, but just like, yes, I'm here. Okay.
Very quickly runs kind of by you, opens the door and goes in, makes no motion to you, but after a second you realize that she left the door open.
Ren will step inside and Ren will step inside and close the door, assuming that that's what she was hoping for.
She sees you entering, and is kind of organizing things, but like, especially to Ren, like she keeps moving things around as if she were organizing, but the space is not becoming more organized. You assume that there is some catalog in her head and she knows exactly where everything is and she's sorting, but things are not looking organized. And she comes to some unknown stopping point to herself, and looks up to you and says, "You mentioned you had more to report?"
Yes, I did. I was a little bit more covert with you about it yesterday because I was not sure whether to tell Henry or not. He caught us off guard. I think you know when I'm talking about. But we've talked through it, and I think that my group is in a good position to deal with this, so we talked it through. I needed to report to you that Henry and I did go to Half a Mug yesterday, and we didn't find much out there, but on our way back, I did see the woman from the rooftop from the day of the execution. I saw her moving down one of the alleys. It did not seem like she intended for me to see, so I just got lucky spotting her. And I did not want to let that get away, so I split off from Henry. I turned invisible and followed her. And she met with 2 different scouts. At that point, she appeared like the woman that we fought who escaped on the rooftops. And a scout came to her with a report on, and he says, you know, what she reported. And after she had left, the woman turned into a dwarf woman. She physically transformed, and a dwarf girl came and reported to her more of the same sort of thing. And Jenny is rebooting. Ren is a lot better at this. Yeah. They did call her Miss Erin, and the 3 of us had known Miss Erin as a human woman from the Half a Mug who appeared completely different. So this woman, presuming it is the same person, has at least 3 faces. And we know that the identity of the woman who escaped on the rooftops is this Miss Erin. So that seemed like a lot of information.
She remains completely impassive throughout that entire thing. There's a little ear twitch at the transformation information. And then she just stays quiet for a couple seconds once you finish. Well, it's remarkably difficult to arrest someone that doesn't always look the same.
I had a similar concern.
She gives a quick, once over of the room, checking the windows and such. And then just kind of slowly nods and says, "Well, it's a very effective excuse. I would hope that you and the other two would keep up appearances, at least in some way, that you are still pursuing the Light Hands, especially if you are going to be attempting to move quickly with the other task that I gave you.
The three of us just had discussed that, and we feel we have good next steps to make. I also want to clarify that the form of the dwarf woman that Miss Erin took matches the description of the dwarf woman who has been keeping tabs on Call when they have traveled through the city.
She asks you for that description just as a extra thing.
Ren gives that description.
Yes. I want this to be a skill check real quick because things. That's not what I want. I have to look at the list of skills. I guess that would be. We're gonna do a perception check, even though you're not looking right now. We're gonna make a perception.
That is a 23.
All right. So you give the description, and then she kind of looks like she's taking mental notes, and then she says, I believe that dwarf may be already being hunted. Or already being... I believe there is a bounty out for her. Already. I don't have the wanted poster with me here, but I will double check with that. Just as a little added information. I don't even remember why she is wanted. I'll have to check a bounty board for that.
Do you know if that lists her by another name or another moniker or anything?
I don't believe there was a name associated. But that does add to the rap sheet. Well, be careful in whatever task you are currently pursuing. Will you... In terms of Ren's character, do you believe that Ren is trying to show Zerka who they are truly, or are they trying to present a different or better persona to Zerka?
Ren is being completely earnest. He's doing his best. I think that's the best way to describe it. He's not trying to be deceptive at all or put on airs about what he is. But he's really hoping that he's doing well. He is being himself, and he very much would like her to like him. And he's being really, really chill about it.
Okay.
He's being so chill about it.
He's being so chill about it. He wants Zerka to like him, okay?
She thinks for a good 30 seconds, just kind of staring you down. which is, to be completely fair, a rather intimidating stare.
Ren has faced down Kenda charging at him on fire. I think Ren is okay.
You know, you make a good point. You make a good point. On fire, shooting fire. But still, she just kind of stares for a little while and then seems to like check a box in her head and then nods a little bit to herself and says, "Well, good luck."
You, Captain. And if there's nothing else, Ren will leave.
She says nothing else and goes back to her chaos of papers.
There we go. I think that went well. I feel like Grandma in Mulan. I think it's going well, don't you?
All right. So, who wants to go talk to somebody first?
I say we roll a die, and the person with the lowest roll goes first.
All right, everybody, roll a d20.
I got to do the fun part and talk to
Rollies.
Kenda. Kenda, Zerka. Should probably talk to Kenda too.
Okay. 16.
Ollies. 15.
The full-on gasp. Oh my god. Oh.
And
man.
like, I still didn't see the inside of your mouth, even though I saw you take a bite.
Why are you so determined to see that?
It just is like it's funny to me that we just found that out about Trent, and then I noticed the same thing about Jenny, and it's just like a connection in my mind.
This
Don't
is
feel like we just found this out.
this is exactly how Henry behaves when Trent is eating nearby. It's like he's constantly trying to look over and catch him.
It's just like a weird thing that like Jenny is eating on camera, enough times, and I've never seen a bite, and it's just weird. I don't know. The probability. Anyway, what was Ren's roll?
Ren also is supposed to talk to their Lord Commander.
Okay, they works.
Oh.
Most non-committally cis man on the earth. I assume.
We're
Honey,
hearing you
change
through the wrong
mics.
mic.
Is it better now?
Yep.
Okay. Yeah. But yeah, Ren's cool with he, they. Very non-committally cis. Anyway, he rolled a 7. But he had just talked to Zerka, so I wanted to let somebody else have a turn.
If you really don't want to go, then Henry can go since he got the second lowest score.
I just want y'all to have a turn. I just got something really, really cool, so.
Yeah, but you lost, and neither of us wants to go.
Yeah, so you go.
Okay, that's how it is. Fuck me, I guess.
Fuck your
Okay.
dice. Like,
All right, Ren's gonna go home and go talk to Barnabas then.
Oh man. Oh man.
You guys.
Hey guys, D&D's a fun game.
D&D is a fun game.
Uh,
They are terrified to talk to authority figures.
All right, so let's.
Paul's the one who randomly ran into Barnabas's office and is like, "Yo, man, I got some questions." So shush.
maybe Call should go talk to Barnabas about this.
Honestly,
I'm
Barnabas
sure
is
that
just
would
the
go
most
well.
approachable of any of our Lord Commanders. So,
Well, considering one
Lord's
of them
Commander.
hasn't even been approached yet. That is a little true. Although I mean,
Lord
somebody
Command
has
might be
approached
really
him.
cool.
Zerka seems to like him.
Maybe ask her for advice.
All right, so Give me a perception check, actually.
It's a nat 20.
Oh.
I did. I'm sorry, Asher.
I corrected them.
You did?
I did. I said Lord's Commander.
Bronwyn
I
is the
said
one who
Lord's
noticed
Commander
it.
earlier. We were talking about this when we were making dinner, and you heard me. I know the
I
right
did
one.
hear you say it then.
Okay. Thanks
For
Context
anyone-
for people at home.
For anybody at home who's not super geeks about grammar.
Asher said that Jenny lost hot points for saying Lord Commanders instead of Lord's Commander. Also, for anyone at home, if you say sister-in-laws and it's not possessive, I'm coming to your house and I will eat all of her food in your refrigerator and leave.
Also, passerbys versus passersby. So, same kind of thing.
Coles de sac versus cul-de-sacs. Is that right?
I didn't
not
know
right?
that one. That's French shit. Get that out of here.
Yeah, the French don't count.
Which came first, the chicken or the egg? Wrong.
The
The
French.
Wait.
Were you there, Jenny?
What?
We had that
But-
conversation.
No,
Ben and
I
I
was
were-
just filling in the gaps like a Mad Lib. I just thought I knew the.
Well,
I thought we
you
were
got
on the
it.
same wavelength. You got
I
it.
was just dunking on the French.
What were
Yeah,
we?
I mean we are.
What were we talking about? Why did that come up? Completely
Well,
derailing the whole
doesn't matter.
campaign. Let's forget about
Does not
eggs
matter.
for a little bit and get back to the nat 20 that Ren rolled.
Okay.
Oh
yeah,
my
nat
God.
20 perception.
Nat 20 perception. So, on the way back across, it is a nat 20, and a nat 20 is very good. What is your modifier, by the way?
+4.
+4. Okay. I just need to double check.
Are you checking Trent's stealth?
No. Which is exactly what I'd say if I was. Anyway, you do see a small tuft of red fur up on the wall.
Speak of the devil.
Careful. It's very, very little. It's not even so. Like previously, y'all have seen a fox, and it has been looking at you and grinning. It's not even looking at you. It's just walking along the top of the wall, away from the mage tower. But you just briefly see a flash of fur, and it does remind you because it's on your mind. Other than that, once you get into the actual halls once you get into the tower, you see kind of just down a hallway, Praetor Paramount Tara is having not a calm discussion with Great Servant Rawl. But they're not shouting at each other, and they don't look inherently angry. But it's not they're not talking about the weather.
Okay, so Ren would have to walk past them if he's to continue
You would
his
have to
destination?
change your route to come closer to them, to hear what's going on.
And he paused behind a corner.
It's kind of like you picture with me. You're like at a T-junction of a hallway. You want to turn left to go where you're going. To your right, it goes down to another T-junction hallway. There's way too many T-junction hallways in the university, by the way, like way too many, and it doesn't make sense. So it goes down to another T-junction hallway, and like if you were to take a right, that's where they are, just like kind of around the corner. So there's nowhere closer to them that has a corner you could hide behind.
Can he stay sort of out of sight, like behind whatever corner he has, and try to listen? Like, try very hard to listen? He should not do this.
I mean, if you're going to be hiding, I need a stealth check.
Come on, baby. Okay, thank God that is a 21.
Okay. Un momento, por favor.
Ren making terrible decisions.
All would be so proud.
Ren is making bad decisions.
You said 21.
21.
Okay.
Please don't get in trouble with Paramount Tara again.
The only experience you've had with this woman. So you kind of tuck down against the wall.
Kind of stands there. Yeah.
Hang on. I'm gonna.
Ren's also gonna like fidget with something like in his pocket, like he's looking for something, just so he looks busy, like he's not just like waiting to be seen or something, just in case somebody does see him.
Okay. Now give me a perception check with advantage because you did get a nat 20 a minute ago.
Nat 20.
Another nat 20. Okay.
Thanks to advantage. Okay.
Excellent. Okay, so your nat 20 does get you that. Praetor Paramount Tara does notice you. You're able to tell with a nat 20. And her voice becomes slightly quieter, but she doesn't stop talking. She gets quiet enough that with the distance you can't hear her. But you do hear Great Servant Rawl, kind of the gist of what he's saying. He is arguing for students' rights to practice in the hallways.
Interesting. Okay. Interesting. Okay. Ren is going to pretend that nothing happened, that he was only kind of pausing behind the corner to make sure he had something in his pocket, and he is going to continue along his way.
Give me a deception check.
Okay. Come on, honey. Okay, that's a 22.
Why did I put this away?
Oh, please.
Give it to me.
He's just never going to interact with Praetor Paramount Tara ever again.
I made this cool elephant lady and y'all are just running away from.
Ren keeps on breaking the rules around her. Ren is scared of her now.
Two back-to-back nat 20 perceptions, so I'm gonna say you do notice. Once you start walking, Praetor Paramount Tara like completely stops paying attention to you.
Okay. Cool.
On to Barnabas.
On to Barnabas. Fuck, what am I gonna say? Okay, let's go talk to Barnabas. Okay, he'll go knock on the door.
All right. You hear his voice from behind the door just yell, "Enter." Not yell.
Ren enters.
Calls out. He is lounging on his very ornately made chair. And there doesn't seem to be any kind of like business that he's tending to like close enough for him to have been like holding any papers or anything. You kind of get the impression that he's just been relaxing.
Okay, cool. Ren is sorry to interrupt that. But, yeah, he's gonna say his, typical hellos and, take his typical seat.
What's your passive perception?
14.
Um, you have seen Barnabas many times. You have been learning with Barnabas. He typically has some bags under his eyes. He doesn't right now.
He's very happy about that. He mentioned before that he'd been sleeping better lately, and I'm like, oh, good. So, okay, something good is happening in the world. Yeah. Fuck is Ren going to say?
Um,
Here we go.
Barnabas is continuing to just lounge quietly as you enter.
Ren shuts the door and he asks Barnabas how he has been. Actually, he's interested in him seeming to do better lately.
I have been doing well. There are plenty of things to be worried about, but I think I'm doing well.
I'm glad to hear it. I was hoping I could consult you on something. Ren kind of like gives a meaningful look at the window, like, hey, can we talk in private kind of thing.
He looks back at the window just briefly and then raises his hand, does a very familiar gesture. There's a glow of green from one of his scabbards, which is hanging on the chair next to him.
Very curious about that sword.
And the familiar not sound envelops the room of no noises from outside, even though there's lots of people outside moving crates and packing wagons and
Okay. Honestly, Ren's not lying at all in this conversation, so I just want to establish that. He's gonna start off with, you're aware that my team and I have been assigned by the city to look into the bandits that attacked during the execution, yeah?
yes.
Yeah. Yes. Right, because we've talked about that before. Ren doesn't say because Ren's not an idiot. I don't think that I gave you the impression before the execution that I was much in support of it. And I know that that is a dangerous opinion to have these days. But I can't help thinking about it again lately. And with our investigation into the group that attacked during it, I've been exposed to more and more of the unrest in the civilian population, and it's concerning to me. I am serving the city now, and I like to be aware of what that means, and more informed about the people of the city that I am serving. If that makes sense. Hi, Ollie. Ren does not say. But, yeah, that's Oliver the cat. It's not Oliver, Ren's imaginary friend. So, but, okay, where was I? Frankly, I'm not sure what I'm looking for. Maybe something adjacent to reassurance, but I would like a little more insight into recent events. You're much better informed on them than I am, and I've only been working for the city in this capacity for a few months now, and I want to make sure that I'm not making mistakes. Just in the way that I'm approaching things. So, could you? If there's anything you can do to inform me more about the situation that I'm in, I would very much appreciate it.
About the about your investigation and why you're on it?
More about the environment that it is taking place in.
The workings of Storgard itself.
Yes. I am proud to serve the city. I genuinely am. There are things about it that make me anxious, and I would just like some clarity on them.
He nods slowly. There's a certain level of caution that is necessary dealing with those who call themselves gentle. The caution that you are showing and asking me this in this manner, he gestures to the window, is admirable and intelligent.
I think Erin might actually flush a little bit at that. Oh, that's praise. Okay.
Most nobility finds its pride in its age. And there's very little of that to be found in Storad. Any noble houses in this area are at most 2, 3, in a few cases 4 generations old. Most of them were granted their title by Storr himself, who was in turn granted by fuck, what is his name? The king before 2 monarchs ago. Sorry, I will.
Barnabas talk just like that.
Barnabas says it exactly that way.
Yeah, like whatever the fuck that guy.
The guy who was literally king when I did stuff that I was most famous for. Where
The man who would be king. If we could remember his name.
Marcus, King Marcus. King Marcus. Which you know you've lived in this country all your life. You know that was 2 monarchs ago. That being said, many noble houses are tied together through marriage and long-lasted trust. The same is not true here. There is much to be gained by being ambitious in this city and in this county. And those who did come to their title by birth must learn to be ambitious themselves, or find themselves losing much of what they were born into. One such example would be the Lady Erida's family. They were the Lady Erida's grandfather was a leal supporter of Count Storr and was granted the barony of Storekeep, I believe is what it is. Storekeep? Where's my map? I believe it's Storekeep. Perhaps to be edited later. But then his own son did nothing to increase their defense, did nothing to increase their power or influence, and then just 2 years ago, the Knoll incursion destroyed their house. The only living member is Lady Erida herself.
I think Ren's probably remembering back when Illyria was giving her report about how, yes, these Knolls are dead and these Knolls are dead, and how Erida was very invested in that. And he's like, gotcha.
I say this to mean that court here can be rather cutthroat. Alliances are quickly formed and quickly broken. And it is important to know where you stand with them. I would like to ease your mind slightly. You are not of station for this to matter quite as much to you. I don't know your ambitions, but I would suggest something other than court life.
I don't think you have to worry about me following that profession, sir. I respect you a great deal. And I hope that you understand about me that the only ambitions that I have are to help people be safer, especially people who would be targeted and hurt because of misunderstandings.
One second. He nods slowly Give me a persuasion check.
Okay. Okay, well that is a mod 20.
Okay. Count Store was my closest friend. I made certain promises to him late in his life. Um, he, you suddenly can kind of see Barnabas's age in his face. He's well over a century old. And you can he has, first of all, he has very, very dark skin, so it's kind of hard to see any wrinkles or such that might be there. It's hard to see to begin with. But aside from that, he does also very, very strong buff man. He does not often look old. But as he says this thing about making promises to Store, it looks like he ages. Like his face appears to age. And he looks away from you and kind of this. I've described before that you came in and his eyes were like clouded over. It doesn't look like that, but they do get like far away and distant. And he, in a much quieter voice, says, "I sometimes worry if I can keep all of those promises. Or if in keeping one, I don't keep another." And then, like, kind of comes to himself a little bit and refocuses on you. He doesn't like. There's nothing on his face that makes it look like he, like, didn't want to tell you that or anything. But he just kind of focuses on you for a moment and cracks a tired smile. And just says, "I'm sorry if I've not answered your questions."
No, it puts me at ease to know that I can come to you about it. Sometimes worry that I'm making trouble for you. I know I occasionally get into mischief, and I don't want that to cause any trouble for you. But it consoles me deeply to know that I can come to you. And thank you for being earnest with me.
He smiles at the mischief bit and just kind of nods along and says, "My students are important to me, and you are certainly not an exception to that."
think Ren flushes a little bit again at that, keeps his face very, very carefully still, and says in a very not emotional voice at all, "Thank you, sir."
He smiles to himself a little bit at that, and then just, is there anything else you wanted to ask me?
That's all, sir. Thank you. So I guess he'll probably say something like, "Hey, lessons on Tuesday? Okay, cool. See ya. Bye." So Ren's gonna go to his room.
All right. Henry, you're up next. You're muted.
I was just like singing, so I'm kind of glad I was muted. All right. Upon leaving Ren's room from breakfast, Henry goes immediately down to Lord Umber's office, since it's like right there, to see if he's in.
His door is open, which is not entirely uncommon. And he, in his, so his office is, like it opens up and there's his desk that has his chair on one side and a couple of chairs on the other side for discussion. And then behind him there is a not small, but like not a full size altar to
Did you decide his god?
nope. But there is an altar like behind his desk to his god that definitely exists. Is one of the gods. And he is kneeling in front of it praying.
Would it be Henry would know this? Would it be weird if Henry kneeled next to him and prayed as well?
No.
Okay. Henry does that. He goes and kneels, like, not like right next to him, but like Umber would see him, and Henry just starts praying to Lyda, even though, yeah.
Give me a religion check.
I know things. 14? 14 worth of things?
Okay. 14 worth of Jesus Christ. Umber is, there still praying. Do you pray out loud or just?
No, silently.
Okay. Umber is very like quietly muttering to himself, like even like kneeling next to him, you can't understand the words. But with a 14 religion check, you do notice a couple things about the altar. So there are candles lit on it, and the wax is not melting off of the candles. And once you get down next to him, you can see his pendant that he always wears is glowing rather brightly. And with the 14 religion, you gather that he is casting a spell rather than just a prayer.
The last time Henry talked to him, his pendant was glowing rather brightly while praying, so that's interesting. Can I do an Arcana check to see what spell he could be doing?
It's not an Arcana-based spell. It's a religion spell.
Oh, okay. Okay. Interesting. Cool. Well, Henry is gonna sit there and pray until Umber is done.
You can't hear the words, but you do hear him ask two questions. Like he asks a question and leaves a space. And when he on the first question, the candles immediately burn dimmer, much dimmer. They stay lit, but they burn much dimmer. And then like he stays quiet for a little bit, and the candles return to how they were, and he asks another question, and then they flare up a bit, still not melting the wax around them.
Interesting.
And then he stays quiet for a little bit longer, and then you feel the cadence of him returning to a more like practiced prayer. And then he stops, makes the gesture of his god, which is a thing that you would know, but like not your god, so you wouldn't like share it. And then he stands, and just like stands and is politely waiting for you to finish.
Cute. So Henry finishes pretty quickly, but doesn't rush it because it's important still. And then stands up as well.
He kind of claps you on the shoulder and says, "Paladin Silverhammer, how can I help you?"
I don't know why I'm emotional about this. Henry, gives him a smile and a little bit of a bow, and says, "Lord Umber, I was wondering if I could trouble you and I know I asked you for guidance recently, and I was just wondering if we could maybe talk again."
Of course. He gestures to one of the chairs on the other side of his desk.
"Is it all right if I close the door?"
He's like going to sit down, and he pauses for a second. And then he just nods and finishes sitting down.
Okay, so Henry closes the door, and sorry, let me just make sure I don't have any spells that could do anything. No. Okay. Henry sits down, and says, I'm trying not to just copy, like my brain is only like filling in what Ren just said, and I'm trying to not just say what Ren said. As you know, part of the way that I follow Lyra is to go and spread joy, and I've been doing that a lot these past several days to really recenter myself in my faith and just feel closer to her and be better for her, be of more use for her. And
his face is kind of brightening up as you say that. Like he looks happy to hear it.
And it's been working. I've been feeling a lot better, especially since we talked last. I feel good. I feel much better. But that while I was out and amongst the people, I sensed like a tense, and Henry is like taking a minute to like think of how to say this, making it obvious he's trying to figure out how to say it to him. There was an unease in the air, a tension of when I talk to folks. And there weren't a lot that spoke of it, but when I did actually make it through and we could talk about it, I think there's some unease about the execution. And I am not a grand scale player. I am a talk individual one-on-one regular folks. That is my calling. That is what I'm good at. But I know that sometimes you have to look at the bigger picture in order to do the most good. But since I am so unskilled with that, I wanted to ask you for your thoughts on what I can do to, or what anyone can do to make that better.
He kind of he nods a little bit as you're bringing up your issues, or bringing up the issues rather. And then he says, "We must trust in the light and the gods." And then he kind of reaches out and you're all the way across the desk. Never mind. He just puts a hand down on the desk, and his hand kind of just light emits from under his hand as he casts just the light spell under his hand. And he says,
sorry, before you say more, Henry is trying to do an insight check the whole time, trying to glean how Umber is feeling.
All right, go ahead. Threat.
Mod 20.
All right. I mean, he certainly it doesn't look dishonest at the moment. But he says, "We must trust in the light and the gods. I know that Lyra's joy reaches many, and I know that it is not always something that they can find on their own. And I admire you for how well you have done, and I admire that you bring that light to the people." With a mod 20 insight check, you can see that he's being honest with what he's saying, and kind of the way he's saying it matters more that you're doing it matters more to him that you're doing this for your goddess than you are doing it for the people you're actually doing it for. And then he lets that light shine for a little bit under his hand, and then he closes his fist and it disappears. And then he says, "I know that there is many people in this city who have neither the light in their lives, nor even do they reflect it from others."
Henry says, "I think that is quite clear pretty much everywhere that I go in this city." Are you laughing at Broadway?
I am.
What are you laughing
The cat's being a fucking wreck. Careening and then just clawing. He was clawing. Jenny, he was clawing at the side of the at the door frame for the fucking closet. I have a potential solution for this. I will deal with it either tonight or in the morning, but
Just the lineup of the face cams, though, made it look like you were doing it to Ash.
Yeah, fuck you, Asher.
Okay, I'm sorry. I'm sorry, my brain just blanked. What did you just say to him?
Umber said not many people in the city have light in their lives, and Henry says, I feel like I said it so good, but he says,
You
yes,
felt like that's the
I've
way it
seen
is.
that, and everywhere I go in the city. Something like that.
He gives you a little bit of a quizzical look, and says, "Do you not believe that it shines at least within our hall here?"
Oh, yes, of course. That is an exception. And there is light. I don't feel hopeless. I don't feel hopeless about the mission. But we certainly have a lot of work to do.
He just kind of nods. It certainly looks like he is attempting to nod sagely. But you can interpret that how you want. And then he just kind of that is a problem I have been working at for years, for these years that I have held this position. But oftentimes a new perspective is helpful in long problems. So, what do you think? What could help?
With in the city, or what do you mean?
Yes, in the city. What do you said that you don't see light when you travel in the city. What do you think are the steps to take to bring light throughout the city, to bring the god's influence?
How socialist am I gonna go with this answer? Henry thinks that because Henry legitimately is like, oh man, how radical am I gonna go with this? And says, I think it is easiest to praise the gods when you're not fearing for your life, or fearing for the lives of your children. And I think an emphasis on protection and helping the people meet their basic needs would be a really good first step. But I don't know what kind of influence do we have on that.
He sits and thinks for a while. So you speak of safety and security for the people of the city.
Mm-hmm.
He gets, I'm going to describe it as a youth pastor smile a little bit.
That is what I feel like we were having. We were speaking Christianese in
I
D&D.
was getting that vibe so hard.
Henry never talks like this except for with Lord Umber.
Anyway,
Right. Let me break it out.
he he turns his chair around and sits in it backwards. No, 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 that does not happen. Uh, literally stands up from a seated position, turns the chair around, and then sits back down. No, I'm sorry. We're finishing with the bit. But he does give that smile, and then he says, he does air quotes. The correct answer is that they should see the light of the gods, and that should bring them protection. That should bring them their safety. But I know that that is not realistic. For those dedicated to serving the gods, it is. It is the correct path for those of us who have made that decision. But for the average folk that live in the city and without the city, perhaps a display that we are here to protect them. He just kind of thinks for a moment. He says, should the Core of Light do well in our upcoming mission, that could instill safety in the minds of some. Does Henry actually make that face?
No. Henry is like, he's like being a really good listener and being like, you know, like, like yeah.
Bum. And then he says, but other than that, perhaps a greater presence in the city itself. And he just kind of thinks for a moment, and then he says, Have you ever noticed any of the bounty boards in the city?
I actually looked at those for the first time yesterday.
He says, yes, I've known of them for a long time, but I actually had a few other members come to me with a couple of the postings there. And they are the types of things that spread the unease that you have been speaking of.
Henry nods like, yes, I know exactly what you're saying.
The forces of light, for the ease of term, we are intended to combat the things that go bump in the night. And from what I have seen, there are a few of those listings. Perhaps there is a place to start.
I think Henry sits back and makes a little bit of a show, but trying to look genuine of thinking about it. And says, I think we have good people hunting those things that go bump in the night. How to word this? I'm gonna talk out loud, Asher thinking of what to say, and then I'm gonna try to nicify it for Henry. We have people hunting for things that go bump in the night, but we don't have people ensuring that the boundaries of that definition are correct or what they need to be. Trying to think of a way to relate this back to the gods. Oh, okay. Plenty of teams hunting down whatever. But perhaps we don't have enough alignment with, don't have enough clarity and I'm trying to say that the gods would want us to like everybody has the chance to receive the god's light.
Okay, roll a persuasion check.
Okay. Stumbling real hard. Sorry, y'all. That's a 13. Wait, what's math? 14.
He spends a second thinking about that. To be clear, you are speaking of the city or of our own rules?
I think everyone could benefit from communing with the gods on this matter.
Okay. Expand on that. What do you mean?
Umber says that?
No.
Oh, you're saying.
Ben says that.
Oh. Yeah, he's saying everyone, our own and the city, could benefit from. I'm sorry, my brain just stopped working.
So you're saying that like all of those quote unquote in power should be considering that everyone should have the chance to follow the gods rather than being punished immediately?
Yes,
Okay.
but he's also implying but also the common folk need to be communing with the gods as well. But yes, implying that. What you just said.
Okay. Okay. He thinks a little bit and then says, "You have given me much to think on, and for that I thank you, Paladin Silverhammer.
Thank you for the opportunity to speak with you.
Of course. and he just kind of looks pensive.
Okay, so after like 2 minutes, if he still doesn't say anything, I think Henry's gonna be like, well, I will leave you to your prayers. And leaves.
He gives like a little nod as you stand to leave.
Okay. Cool.
Alrighty. So, call.
Call indeed.
So first of all, um, go ahead and just give me a perception check, is what we'll say.
Mod 20.
Okay. So you're able to find, like, it's not an office. His, like, it looks remarkably like a barracks that just only one person lives in.
Not the luxury here.
But he is not there. Because this is, I mean, all of this was happening at the same time, so it's still only about 9-ish in the morning, a little after 9. But you find his little office, barracks, live space, whatever you want to call it. And he, as I said, he's not there, but then it doesn't take you long looking around to see that he is organizing large groups of members of the Core Blades in storing and packing. Hello, good sir.
Look at him. He is pawing at my hand because I'm not using that hand to pet him.
He said, excuse me. Excuse me.
Yeah. If I'm trying to do anything other than pet him, he will paw at my arm to be like, excuse me, you're not petting me right now.
He just looked in the camera and said, yes, bitch. So you see him kind of shouting orders to different groups moving around. It looks as if he is basically in charge of planning, from what you can see this briefly, it looks like he's in charge of planning all of the logistics for the upcoming expedition.
Jesus, busy guy. Okay, but you said he's not there.
He's not. He's not in his little office live space thing. But then you look around and you see him like shouting orders and such.
Gotcha. Okay. So Call is I think going to go up to him and when he is not in the middle of something, so he's gonna just kind of like wait in his periphery until he like pays Call attention. They're gonna wait in his periphery. And when they're acknowledged, Call is going to introduce themselves and ask if they can speak when he has a free moment.
He, you catch his attention. He says, after introducing yourself, he says, "Oh, you're one of Zerka's, right?"
That is correct.
He turns and shouts, and a guy with the stripes on his shoulder that mark him as an officer comes over. Ryan briefly gives him instruction, and then turns and kind of walks, kind of leading you back towards that little living space area that he has.
Okay. So Assuming that I'm just gonna go ahead and do this perception check on how he's looking right now, or insight, I guess.
Yeah, insight.
That would be, whew, buddy, that's a whole 7.
Okay.
Love you, Oliver. Get out of the way.
A 7 is enough to see that. I mean, he looks busy, but he didn't take much cajoling to come talk to you.
Fair. Okay. Carl's just gonna take that at face value, and is once they're in the barrack and barracks, I guess is it still plural? Who knows? And comfortable. Carl is going to kind of gather themselves for a moment and say, as you may know, we have been tasked by Count Ander, to work with finding those responsible for interrupting the execution that occurred in the recent past. We were also tasked with staffing the execution itself. Between that and through the course of this investigation, we have been coming across some very interesting perspectives and points of view on the current dangers within the city. I'm new to the area, relatively. I had not been here for very long before I ended up working with Captain Dawn. And I wanted to know your perspective from your position on the safety of the city and how things have, I guess, developed over time. People seem concerned as though things are a new trend, and I have not been here long enough to know how much of that is true and how much of that is incorrect perception.
He kind of raises an eyebrow, and then says, "Well, in matters of safety of the city, you would probably be better off talking to my brother. Y'all know that that's the captain of the city watch is his brother."
Yes.
He says, "I, and by extension you, work directly for Count Ander."
Call's going to nod in that moment and say, fair. That is more of the direction that I wanted to ask about. I guess I was too circumspect in that, or circumnavigating the point, whatever the fuck words. So Carl's going to say, it's less the literal safety of the city that I would like to ask about, and more if you believe that people's perceptions of their safety in the city have changed over time from a political stance and I'm perceptions of the city safety and how you think that compares to your job in recent years.
Well, in recent years, the corps have been stationed within the city. I wouldn't see how that could lead to anything but increased feelings of safety with such a large force stationed inside.
So you think that So do you think that the general hum that we've been hearing lately is overblown and like to die down?
He just like kind of gives you a look, and then he give me an insight check.
Absolutely. 18.
That's not your dice. You are able to gather, due to the fact that he is not hiding his expressions at all, you are able to gather that he is like the questions seem weird to him, and you're getting an intense feeling of disconnection between what he is thinking and what is like happening in the city. And I'm gonna
Wait, like what he's thinking is not what's happening, or
like, so the issues that you're bringing up seem like to him were not issues, and I'm gonna, because you beat his roll by so much, I'm gonna give it to you. I'm gonna give this information to you in a certain way. You know that Zerka is kind of like as close to a spy master as the city has, and Zerka's a captain, which is a fairly high rank, but it's not very high. And you are fairly certain that there are no other branches, there's no other groups like the Dozen. There's no other people of Zerka's rank that are doing what she is doing. And the person who is directly responsible for that is the man you're talking to. Like, as close as another group gets to what you do is just scouts that collect like locational information.
gotcha. I think at this point, Call is going to at this point, Call is going to say, Sir, has Zerka ever told you much about individual members of her dozen?
Enough that I know their names.
Call's just gonna go ahead and nod. And then say, well, in that case, you are probably not aware, but I have a degree of a reputation for impertinent questions. So, and then Call's gonna follow that up with, I apologize if any of my questions become impertinent. I am trying to understand the climate that we are in, and as I and my team are getting involved with more and more direct missions from the Count himself, I want to be sure that I am accurately assessing the situations that we are stepping into. May I ask, from a tactical standpoint, what your assessment is of the current political climate in Storgard? And an insight check to how he looks.
I am trying to think of how he responds.
Take your time.
He does not take a long time to respond to this.
Take your time.
He kind of stands to his full height, which is, if you'll give me a moment, 5'10". And that Ren's the one that's 5'10", right?
Call's 5'7".
Yeah. Okay. So he looks down all 3 of those inches at you, and has a stern look in his face, and just simply puts it, political climate is not something I discuss with my subordinates.
Call will just go ahead and nod and say, in that case, I thank you for your time.
He, still standing ramrod straight, just says dismissed, and then kind of chases you out the door a little bit because he has things to do outside, so he's not staying in.
Jesus fucking Christ. How is it that I went last and still had the worst one?
I feel like it went really well with Barnabas. It went questionably okay with Umber, and then with Ryan, I was like, no.
I think that correlated exactly with how well we knew those characters, though.
Yeah.
Like, Ren was prepared to talk to Barnabas. Like, this is a guy he sees, like, every day. We have not spoken to Lord Commander Ryan before. So
I swear to God, I was literally sitting here going, okay, is this going to be the scenario where Call brings up the, like, hey, I know something you don't know I know. But that also wouldn't have gone well, so I'm glad Call didn't.
Man.
I think Call did as well as they could, bringing up, hey, help me make sure that I'm doing okay. Like, they did as best they could.
I thought Call's reasoning was not bad. Like, you know,
Yeah.
I'm trying to get the ground underneath me, like, we're getting more directly involved with orders from the Count himself, so I want to talk to somebody who, like, knows what the scope of things is.
yeah, like, strategically, wouldn't it be better for me to, like, know what the fuck is going on and know who I'm taking orders from and, like...
But
Yeah.
of this,
So I can serve the city better, of course.
of
Yeah.
these 3 people, Ryan is the most military commander. For him, like, you're like 8 steps away from even should be talking to him. I never said he was a nice guy. That being said, it is 7 minutes to midnight. So,
Oh my god, you're right.
I think we'll call it there, and I believe the next thing that y'all had planned was re-meeting in the courtyard, yeah?
Yes.
Okay. It is kind of funny that I feel like those interactions all took decreasing amount of time as well. Because like Ren, had to talk to Zerka and then go to Barnabas. So Ren spent the most time talking. Henry, there was the prayer and then a fairly long conversation. Call got shut down quick.
And Call was like, okay, goodbye.
So I imagine when y'all re-meet up, Call's gonna be training in the courtyard or something. Catching up on the side chat. So thanks everybody for watching. I don't know if they're still here, but we did have two people that were here last week,
Oh.
and maybe, I mean, my mom's here, again. This might be the third week in a row that you're here, and it's real great to see you. It's awesome. Maybe I'm not talking to you because you've already left. Anyway, we're gonna end it there. Tons of fun. Next Thursday?
Next Thursday?
Next Thursday.
Next
Works
Thursday.
for me.
Bye, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.